Hello and welcome back to the 20th episode of the Tower Sports Advising Podcast. Crazy to think that we've made it to 20 episodes so far. Diving into a couple housekeeping things. For every 5,000 subscribers we get this year, we're going to give away one free year of recruiting. So if you're currently in a 26 class and you're looking for some recruiting, we're a little past due there. But if you're in the 27 class and we're looking for some recruiting, then we're going to give every 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to give away 1 year for that current year. So if you're currently in your 27 year and we hit 5,000 or we hit 10,000, we will give away one for 5,000 and then two for 10,000. And priority two of this year will be we're trying to get out 52 podcasts, so one each week. I know we're a little behind on week 3 here of January coming up for this Friday, but we will be trying to get out 52 podcasts for this. All right, let's dive in some questions that I've recently seen throughout Twitter, Instagram, and all those different things that people love to put out free information and kind of ask questions to other people that may not have the answer. And hopefully we can clarify some of those answers for some people today. So diving into recruiting reality. What are we seeing families panic about that are truly doesn't matter?
I would say for myself, from being in the coaching realm and coaching AAU, I think parents panic a lot when they see kids on their AAU team or their high school team receive invites to camps, or coaches are reaching out, or people are doing on-campus visits or unofficial campus tours, things like that. When I feel like parents overreact when their child specifically isn't getting the not excitement, but the attention that they think they deserve. And I think it ends up faulting on, sometimes they put too much pressure on the child to perform better because they might think the results aren't there. So they're pressing to get those results, so those coaches will give them attention. It's not that really big of a deal, guys. You'll realize that any given day a coach could see you play, and you don't need to fret over, hey, this guy got talked to by the University of St. Joe's, or this one was Eastern Connecticut or UMass Amherst, or he got a big one from maybe Duke or Florida or something like that. I say it all the time. You'll see it. It's a reoccurring theme. It's run your own race. So if someone's getting that attention right now, it doesn't mean you can get it later. So don't fret and don't freak out if your child's not getting that attention that you think they deserve because of all that hard work they put in.
I also think we're kind of in a different realm of the world now. And it's like, I don't remember who I was talking to, but somebody said there's like roughly around 12,000 kids in the portal. I
Yeah.
mean, guaranteed those kids have committed, but like we're back to the age now of you're going to wait your time, because all this winter, where let's say 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, people were waiting on kids to offer or kids that they had on campus in the fall and they were given offers. Those guys aren't giving offers right now. They need to build that team and see what it looks like for the spring. So that recruiting is now getting pushed back until springtime, where it's like, hey, maybe a coach pops out to you on a high school games and then you get your on-campus visit. Whereas before, I mean, most of the D1 was always in the fall, especially when we played. So now it's just getting pushed back more and more and more. And I understand kids are starting to get frustrated, but that's going to be the new norm. There isn't any way of escaping that. And it sucks to sit there and be like, wow, well, that kid's getting an offer and I haven't. I'm the same caliber player that kid is. If you get an offer at the end of the day, you get an offer at the end of the day. It might take a little bit longer, but I mean, that's pretty much what we go back to saying all the time, of trusting that process.
Yeah, I think the portal just, if there's really not much regulation. It doesn't seem like there is going to be much regulation, which you can come and go as you please. So for the high school kids, I know the coaches we've talked to, it's damaged a lot of, I wouldn't say relationships, but it's damaged the thought of high school kids because they're just waiting on half their team leaving or half the team they're replacing. So it's a long drawn out process. So for those parents who their child's not getting that love right away, don't fret over it. They're just prioritizing maybe bringing in replacement guys right away, and then they'll work on their high school class after. A lot of coaches are different in that realm, so it's truly what they depend on. I know I talked to one coach probably 2 weeks ago. He was like, yeah, I don't really use the portal much. I'm looking to bring in a lot of high school guys so I can develop guys. And it feels like in today's age with the portal, that's not really the norm. That's the old school mentality. So there are some coaches still out there that prioritize high school kids, but the portal has affected a lot of how high school recruiting goes about.
I mean, I think one cool thing that kind of add off of this is the families that kind of would panic 3 to 4 years ago were those kids that are late seniors that don't get anything kind of after the fall. But now I feel like we're seeing guys that maybe need one more guy come springtime. So that
Mhm.
guy that's for this year example, that guy's a 2026 senior and he's still playing, still grinding out summer ball and trying to find a spot, might end up finding a spot where if we go back
Mhm.
2, 3 years ago, it's high school baseball and then you're done. So I think there are gives and there are takes with the portal, but I think there is a benefit to kind of what they're doing. And I think, like I've said in prior podcasts, it's kind of eliminating the I'm helping out a coach, whereas I'm just taking a guy to take a guy. I mean, pretty much at D1, that's kind of gotten rid of. So now we're seeing those kids that shouldn't be D1 baseball players. They might be D1 baseball players in 3 years after a D1 or D2 or a D3, but at the current moment, they're not. So now they're not giving them that helping hand of like, oh, well, you'll come here redshirt for a year and hopefully you figure it out. So I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. I don't think there'll ever be a perfect mesh kind of with that portal. All right, question number 2. What's something small players overlook that end up costing them opportunities? And what I mean by small players is I mean guys that maybe aren't the biggest, right? Maybe don't have the best frame, maybe don't have the best statistics, maybe don't have, let's say, the best metrics on perfect game or PBR. What is something that they're kind of overlooking that ends up costing them that opportunity?
So for me, I can speak from this. You would know I wasn't the biggest person going into my junior year of high school. I got lucky where I grew senior year, but I was 5'6", 5'7", probably a buck 50. And for me, it was I had you who hit the ball 400 feet and threw 90 plus, right? And you were 6'2", 6'3", maybe 6'4" at this time. Like for me, I was like, why can't I be like you? Or I look at other guys that are my age. It was like they're 6'1", they're 88 off the mound. It's like comparison's the thief of joy. So for when it comes to you smaller guys out there, don't get upset that hey, he got lucky that his genetics might be a little bit better or he hit the gym before you did, right? And for me, it was just like, hey, you got to play your own game. And I know a ton of coaches that recruit smaller guys. There's one who's no longer a head coach now, but Wheaton College was Coach Pobolski. It felt like he recruited 5'8", 160 kids that just loved baseball and they would love to get dirty and everything like that. Again, it goes back to the perfect fit situation. So like there's coaches out there that truly just love height, but there's coaches out there that are just looking for the best baseball player for their school. And when it comes to you guys doing your recruit and stuff like that, if they might look at that 6'2" kid, 185, and be like, oh, he's projectable, but you're 5'6", 140, right? You can't change that, right? The only thing you can change is your mentality. And honestly, your weight. You can eat a ton and you can lift a ton and get as strong as possible for what your frame allows you to. So don't I say fraternize a lot, but don't get upset that a guy gets a look over you because he's bigger, right? Doesn't mean he's better than you. It just means that coach maybe made the wrong decision and decided he wanted to take the quote unquote prospect over the kid who might be a fully developed baseball player. So for you shorter guys, or smaller guys, just keep developing your skills and your time will come. Trust me. I've played with numerous kids that were 5'10" or smaller that were just straight up ballers and they hit anywhere in the lineup. You talked about EJ Cumbo from Tampa. That kid was what, 2-time player of the year and I think 2-time national title. That kid was 5'7", but he was as strong as 5'7" could get. And he did not let anyone let him know that he was 5'7". He played like he was 6'4", and he just didn't let anyone bother him. And I think that goes for all those people. Like for me, it irritated me that I wasn't big. So you just got to wait your time. And if you grow, you grow. If not, you got to deal with what you got and you got to give it your all.
Kind of have a short response for this one, but it's like the kids, let's say 5 years ago, right? The kids 5 years ago that knew where they fit ended up at a college. Today, it's like, well, I see the portal, I see, I don't know, opportunities elsewhere, right? Whatever it may be, but they don't want to understand that the fit is what's going to help them. So it's like, oh, my kid, I have 4 kids in my high school team. One's going to Rutgers, one's going to Sacred Heart, one's going to Felician, and one's going to Franklin Pierce. And I might be 5'6", 150. And that's okay. Like, if you want to play college baseball at the end of the day, go find a fit for you. That might be a D2. That might be a D3. That might be a low-end Division 1. But you have to understand what that fit actually is, and that's just an example, but that fit is different for everybody. So I think a lot of kids get lost in, like, what's the fit? The other part of it is the outliers. So you have a high school coach, you have a college coach, and you have, let's just say you work with somebody like us, right? They're all feeding you different information. Unless at the end of the day that somebody can say they actually have that person's phone number, meaning let's just say it's Coach King at Dayton, right? If I pick up my phone and I have his phone number and I tell you as the parent and the player, I have his phone number, then I can actually give him a call. So if there's no connection, and I feel like a lot of this translation gets lost with people lie in the situation of like, I can get in contact with him. I'll be the first person if I don't know somebody. Hey, I don't know him. I don't have his phone number. But if I can try and get it for you, I will get it for you and get you in contact with them. So I think understanding your opportunity when it's given is very crucial in today's recruiting process. All right, moving on into question 3. How often do players think they're being recruited when they actually aren't?
I think a big one for me is I go back to camps, and I know we're going to touch on it a little bit, so I won't go too in depth, but there's a difference of a coach inviting you to a camp and you just being on a camp flyer, right? And you got to understand the jargon and the language they use and how direct they are within the showcase invite to see if they truly want you there, or is, I wouldn't say it's a money grab, but it's more of a, hey, let's see if we can get this person. We probably saw him once before. Let's see if we can get him on campus type situation. So truly, when you get those emails or those texts from coaches, most of the time it's the assistant coach. But if you're getting usually a text from a head coach and he wants to see you on campus for a showcase or something like that, it's usually because he means it. So just read that language and try to understand that jargon that they use a little bit better and decipher in your own terms. But just figure out if you really think the connection you built with that coach, maybe you went to a camp prior, you went to a camp that was combined. So there was Eastern, Sacred Heart, Central, Southern camp, those type of things. And you built a connection. And then he's like, hey, love to see you at our camp in about 2 weeks. Right. And see if that connection that you built was a real one. And that is actually from the heart and not just saying, hey, maybe if we get this guy here, great. If not, no big deal. So just try to understand that language and that jargon the best you can and see if that connection is actually a true, genuine connection to see if you can play at their school.
I think a key part there of kind of what you were touched on a little bit is like schools have to make money, right? At the end of the day, for coaches to keep their job, for their program to continue to be good, and 3, to just kind of have a campus presence, right? By campus presence, I mean you want baseball guys coming on your campus, whether they're going to your school or not. You want people to see like, hey, UConn has this great facility. Hey, Eastern just got a turf field. Now, if you go to Harvard, they have the bubble that you can practice indoors. So there's all these different things, and you want these people to see them, which is great. Don't get me wrong. And if you have no idea what your recruiting process looks like, that's a good start for you. But when they send out these emails and it says, hey, Josh Tower, or hello, Josh Tower, and then it's the same email that they send everyone else, not saying it's a red flag, but like, do your research. Is this somewhere I actually want to go? Because yes, all right, maybe they did see you during your summer circuit, and it might be a great thing for you to go and watch, right? And see what it's like and kind of watch the other way guys move. But then at the end of the day, it's like, do I actually really want to go to this school? And now we're at the end of the summer circuit and they reach out again and the language in that email is totally different because there's real interest there. Then it's something we explore. But if it's not, and it's not something for you, don't go wasting your money going to all these camps, because you could go there and you could end up playing first base and you're just a pitcher. Like, because they're trying to get on, let's just use the 27 class, for example, right? If you're a 28 going to these camps, and let's say you're going to Stonehill, AIC, and let's say Albertus, right? All those camps are going to look different because you're talking D1, D2, and D3. All those facilities are going to look different. Every single camp is going to be run a different way because every coach coaches a different way. The only time you run into coaches that coach the same way is if you look at the chain of he coached under him and he coached under him, which is fine. And that's how the world works. Guys that are good at their job will mentor other coaches. And that's how those camps will be run. So you might go to 5 camps and 3 coaches coach together and they're run the exact same way. And if you like those 3 schools, hey, maybe that's something we're looking for here. That doesn't mean, hey, I'm buying a coaching staff right away, which is my favorite thing to say, but that's something that interests you. So when you go back and talk to somebody like us or a high school coach or a college coach, or hey, maybe even a guidance counselor at school, like, hey, I really like this. And this is something that interests me about that school. And that's something we can evolve into of like, all right, well, that's kind of the coaching staff you're looking for instead of, hey, I don't really know what I'm looking for, but hey, Holy Cross offered me and I think I should go there. Because more than not, we have conversations with kids that have zero idea what they're looking for.
And that goes back kind of with what we talked about the first time. It's like when kids don't have a direct path and they get thrown a shiny object, they're like, oh, I got to take this opportunity. I might not get another one, right? And that goes back to trusting your ability and what your plan is. So if you don't have a plan for those kids out there that don't have a plan, or parents that are helping your children with trying to play at the next level or going to school, develop a plan. I always tell our guys, pick 10 schools that you're interested in. They could be totally out of the range. Like for me, I wanted to go to USC. That's my favorite school, right? Did I think I could play at USC? Probably not, but put them on there. And then as time goes on, eliminate those schools based on who you've talked to, who you've seen, things like that. And that will lessen the stress of you being, oh my God, I haven't got any offers. What do I do? But if you plan out those schools you want to go see or you want to go meet or those coaches you want to talk to, seek them out when you're at those events so you can keep your, I would say, vision board of schools. And every time it's not a good connection or you don't feel like it's the right fit, you just cross them off. And then you break it down into your top 3. And hopefully your top 3 are the schools that you talk to and you feel real comfortable about probably making a decision to go to those schools.
I mean, you made a key point right there. Let's just say your team's at the Boston Open this summer and you want to go to Clark University and Coach Cather is standing behind the backstop on field 3, not even watching your game. I think a volume of like that speaks volumes about kids is, hey, go introduce yourself to him. Maybe he won't come watch you, but hey, maybe that'll stick in his mind. Maybe like, hey, that kid's got a great frame, or hey, that kid really showed some stones and said, hey, I'm Zack Tower. Nice to meet you. I really like your school. And that guy might not be somebody on your board, but maybe after you introducing yourself, you could put yourself on that board. And it's little things that like that. Every coach is different, right? But there's different things and different, let's call it respect levels that coaches have that will put you on somebody's board. That doesn't mean you have to be the best player in the field, but hey, that guy might be a team player. Or hey, that guy might help us in the weight room. Or hey, that guy could help us down the road. Maybe he's not a key role right now, but maybe by junior, senior year and he develops, just from that conversation alone, we could see him in our program. So I think there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but I think there's also a lot of different ways to put yourself on people's boards. And we'll get into that at some point, but that's a long conversation for another day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question is, what does interest from a college coach really mean at different levels?
So I've had the luxury of being recruited by D1 coaches, D2 coaches, D3 coaches. And I think for me, what I've gathered interest. So interest can mean many different things. Inviting you to camp, having phone calls. In the football terms, it's coming to visit you at your house, right? I know for you, you could talk about coaches come watch your football games, right? Things like that. It's interest is a broad term, but for me, the thing I understand of it is the coach reaching out to you, asking how school's going, how's your family doing? Hey, how's the summer going? Hey, I checked you in the high school season. Hey, good game the other day. You went 2 for 4, right? It's those checkings up, and I wouldn't say it's like a father figure, but it's like it's seeing if the person's growing as an individual and stuff like that. And that's like the top tier interest. If we're talking just low interest, they might give you a phone call or a text inviting you somewhere, or hey, they saw you at an event, so they stopped and talked to you, right? Interest is totally, it's a hard word to totally understand because it means so many different things. But I think at the D1 level, there's so much obviously more money allocated to events and things like that where they can bring you on campus, they can go to your events, stuff along that lines. It obviously trickles down to D2 and D3 because of money allocation and all that stuff. But for me, every time I've gotten interest when I was a player, it was a phone call or it was an email or it was a text message just checking up, saying, hey, saw you today, or just missed you, everything like that. And if it's the same thing with relationship building, if you meet people out in the real world, it's just checking in on them, just a weekly text or a monthly text saying, hey, here's how it's going, all that stuff. And to me, if you send something, say you send your summer report out, say you played 25 games, you went, I don't know, 20 for 60, you had 2 bombs and 15 RBIs and a couple bags, and you reach out and it takes them a long time to respond, they probably don't have interest. But if it takes them about like 3 to 5 days, they still probably have interest. They just had something going on because it's the new year starting, meaning the fall. Or if they respond right away, it means they're definitely interested. Just interest is, I kind of rambled a little bit, but interest is a really hard word to understand and how it works because there's so many variables to it.
I think that I'm a key point off of something you just said. You said 3 to 5 days, right? Or let's just say that same day. It does not matter what division you are going to. Those guys are still traveling to go look at people. If you're on a summer circuit, and let's just say, I'm not going to name a school, but if a school reaches out to you and they don't text you for 2 weeks, that could mean they were on the road for 2 weeks. And there might be 8 other kids that they're in contact with that they haven't answered in 8 weeks because they're on the road with their family. They're trying to communicate to their head coach, let's say, if it's not the head coach on the road, because most of the time D3, it's probably the head coach on the road, but D2 and D1, it's the recruiting coordinator, and maybe the third guy in line, right? So just because they didn't answer for 2 weeks doesn't mean they're not interested. And I'll kind of go off of, I have 2 stories. I'm not going to name coaches' names and I'm not going to name players' names, but one of the best players I've probably coached in my travel coaching career, there was a school that reached out to him probably 1 to every 5 days and probably me 1 to every 5 days. I need this kid on my team. Did he end up going to that school? No, but when we had that conversation at the end, like, where do I want to commit? I go, you better sure thank that guy for everything that he did for you. And he was like, he's the first one I called. So I think, again, that speaks volumes because I'll use an example of my playing career. I committed to a school, decommitted, went to another school. And as soon as I wanted to transfer out of that school, the guy that I had to pretty much man up and call and say, hey, I don't really want to come to your school was the first person that called me. And that's pretty much where I ended my career at. So you don't know how much a phone call means to people, even if it's, hey, I'm not going to your school. There's nothing wrong with that. With the way kids get hurt now, with the portal, with all these different factors. Hey, maybe I'm not a good college student and maybe I can't stay eligible at the Division I level, but that doesn't mean I can't drop down to D2, D3. So there's many variables now, but as I say all the time, don't close those doors.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other story I'll say is I had a pitcher, I want to say it was 4 years ago, maybe 3. He was getting interest from all these different schools. And it was kind of a conversation of like, I can't afford these schools. So he took the best opportunity for him that pretty much gave him almost a full scholarship of like, hey, I don't have to worry about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part right there, and again, not saying names for either side of it, but the kid's better off now. He's in his second year of college, right? He's going to end up with no student debt, which how many kids can say that in today's world, whether you're the valedictorian or unless you're playing a football team, really, let's be honest here, that's the only way, or basketball. If you're
Football and basketball,
right.
that's about it.
But how many kids can say, hey, I grew up in Connecticut and I'm going to have 0 college debt.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to get that in today's world anymore. And it's kind of, hey, that guy's taking a chance on me. So why wouldn't I take a chance on him? Now, again, if you absolutely hate that, at the end of the day, you tour the school, meet the coaching staff, you see the facilities, you see what your everyday life looks like in the classroom, and you're like, hey, I'm not going to survive here. Then sure, That's a different conversation. But I guarantee you're going to have a better career and a better path after college taking that route over, hey, I want to go to this D1 school and they're going to give me 25%. It's going to cost me 60 grand out of pocket.
Yeah.
So
I
I
just
think,
want to touch
go
on
ahead.
what you said real quick, how you talked about decommitting from a school, going to another school, and then essentially ending up at the school you decommitted. That speaks volumes on coach's interest, right? Because you did the right thing. You called them, you manned up, you didn't chicken out and just send them a text message. You're like, hey, I'm leaving or I'm decommitting. Like, you manned up, he respected you for it. So if you guys, coach recruits you and he has a ton of interest and you don't want to go there, be a man, call him or hop on a Zoom call or FaceTime face to face. Be like, hey, I just want to say I appreciate everything you guys have done for me. At this time, I'm not going to continue wanting to go to the school, or I have no more interest in the school. Does not mean 2 years later, something goes wrong and they have an open spot for you, right? You will always hear us say, don't burn bridges or close doors because you never know when you're going to need to use them.
I mean, perfect example there, though. Let's just say you don't even transfer, right? Well, let's say you want to be something in athletics at that school that you're applying for a job, and he's the head hiring director of that job. You have no idea after college what it looks like either. So, as you said, right, just pick up that phone. It doesn't take that much time in your life to say, hey, coach, hey, it's just not a fit for me. He's going to respect you more that you had essentially took your time to say, hey, I'm going to give this guy a call and thank him for what he's done, but this isn't for me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, next question is, when should a player start worrying and when should they stay patient?
So I think worrying shouldn't really happen until, I would say, I'm going off of like guidance counselors and stuff like that, where they start making you to go to all these seminars and stuff like that. I would say probably at the completion of your senior year. So you're sitting, say your team got lucky and they're in the state tournament or the district tournament or whatever it's called in different states. But Massachusetts, it goes district tournament to state tournament. At the end of it's about roughly the first week of June, and you got no interest at all. I would say that's a red flag. I wouldn't say we're screwed here because you still have your senior summer, but it's all the paperwork and all that stuff that has to go in. I would say that's a little worrisome. Anything before that, you got a ton of time, guys. You don't understand how much time you have, and we touch on it all the time. The portal has changed the way high school recruiting has been. So if you don't get that recruiting offer right away, be patient, stay strong, keep your options open. But I will say, if you get that offer you do like, lock it in right away because at a flip of a dime, it could switch and it could go to someone else. So for the patient side of things, I always say comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to other people. I mentioned it numerous times. The team I was coaching, they're always, we're facing an Elon commit or we got a Duke commit. Great guys. Maybe their recruiting process was a lot easier than yours, but it's your path. Stay strong. It's okay. People can go to these fancy schools and all that stuff. Doesn't mean they're going to play right away, right? So don't get caught up in what other people are doing. Just stay on your path. Everybody's got a path. It's going to lead you down the right direction. So patience. And I think this is mostly, I would say from my point of view, it's mostly the parents that need to learn how to stay patient because the kids just play the game for fun, right? We don't play the game for anything else besides having fun and putting a smile on your face. So if parents are putting pressure on their children, they might need to have a sit down and be like, I know it's hard at 15, 16 years old to look your parents in the face and tell them to, hey, leave me alone. But it might have to be an option because if parents are freaking out that their child's getting no love in the recruiting cycle, it could damage the way the player thinks, the way that the player plays, and it could ultimately end up the player just outright quitting and maybe not even going to college because of the effects that they have. So stay strong. Don't let any outside source affect you or defect you from your path. Just keep doing your thing, and patience is key with everything. So don't get worried. It's really only when it's 2 to 3 months before you need to apply to a school to even get into the school, because I know there's guidelines with admission stuff. So That's the only time I would say you'd need to worry. Everything else is just a piece of cake. Just keep doing your thing, and it's timing, and it's just it's how it's gonna roll.
I mean, you can clip this, but if you're a senior and you're finished and you end the state tournament and you're not going to college, I'll gladly help you. Nothing charged to you or your family, because there's clearly people that are trying to help you that haven't put you in the right frame of mind or haven't given you the right opportunities to be on somebody's list. So I will give you my Rolodex of coaches and try to get you and help you get somewhere, because I think a lot of it gets lost. And again, you coach travel baseball and I've coached travel baseball. Everyone, it's just driven by ego. So you'll meet guys that are great and guys that, hey, you might be friends with off the field. You meet coaches that won't even shake your hand over a travel baseball game. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's main goal here should be trying to get kids into college, and that's legitimately it,
Yep.
because it's not about us anymore. So that's all I have there. Next question is, what's the difference between being on a coach's list and being a real priority?
So that kind of goes back to interest, right? It depends on how well you performed in front of people. I know I got some invites to camps from the D1 level that you could just tell that I was not one of the coach's guys, right? It was just, hey, I did pretty well during the high school season. I was playing on a really good AAU team, and maybe they caught wind of me or something like that, and they were just throwing you out a flyer and seeing if it stuck, right? There's the difference, and I think it goes back to the interest side of things. It's how often does a coach care to reach out and check on how your well-being is? Because you can tell if a coach cares, and if a coach cares, you're on his list. If he doesn't really have if he kind of gives you the limbo, the in and out, like, hey, sorry, I was doing this. Majority of the time he was doing that, but the guys he wants, he's going to make sure he reaches out to you, right? And I think it's just like a relationship in life, like husband and wife. Like, if something happens to your wife or to your husband, you're going to reach out to them right away, right? You're not going to wait, because it's urgent, right? And if they show, I wouldn't say that type of care, but if they show you that type of similar care to when they're reaching out to you, responding to you, you know you're on your coach's list. And if they're trying to get you, the process goes faster and faster and faster for you, it means you're probably up on their board. Everybody, I don't think this is breaking news, but if you walk into any coach's office, they have a list of recruits
On a
and it
whiteboard.
goes on a whiteboard, and it's right next to their diamond that they have of their starting lineup and their backups for the year. And then they have their recruits and where they're going to fit in. If that's breaking news, we might need to help you more than you need to help yourself in the recruiting world. But usually when you see that board, they're going to have interest, and they're going to start sending out more emails or more text messages, or, hey, he threw a nice game the other day. I just looked. I'm going to give him another call. We need to get him on campus again, or I need to get him face to face. So you could tell quickly based on a lot of stuff, and it has to do with communication. Communication's big on if you're a guy or if you're just someone that they're floating around to see if you'll come in, or if you're going to end up going to another school, and they won't bat an eye if they lose you.
I think the important part there is you don't understand how quick it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is you could throw a game in, let's just say, the Boston Invite at the end of the summer and the end of July. You could end up on that campus 2 days after you pitch, or 3 days after you caught a game. Or
I've seen same.
right. So, I mean, if you're in the area, right, and it's same day,
Yeah.
and the coach talks to you and says, hey, going back to the office, you want to come do a visit while you guys are in town? Like, that stuff does happen. And I think the gray area, again, with that is people don't understand how fast it can happen because of how much downtime essentially there is in recruiting. And what I mean by downtime is nobody could be on, you could be the best player in Connecticut, right? And nobody could be on you for 4 months because you're just not fitting in what they need. And I say this all the time to parents, and it's kind of a gray area question again, but like, unless you have somebody that knows a coach on the staff or a head coach on the staff or somebody that's involved with it, you don't know what they're recruiting. So you might be the best shortstop in the state of Connecticut in the 27 class, but Yale might not need a shortstop. Central Connecticut might not need outfielders. Sacred Heart might not need a catcher. You won't know that until you won't ever know that.
You won't ever know that
Right.
unless someone talks to them or you talk to them yourself. You'll never know what they actually need.
So and then that goes back to what I say all the time about lying about connections. Because if somebody says, hey, I know Sacred Heart and you're a catcher and you want to go there and they don't need a catcher, you're never going to know because they're never going to reach out to you, even if you're the best catcher in the state of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lost comparison of kids of they're fed essentially lies, right? At the end of the day, where it's like, all right, this is why we're not in the right priority. Like you're not a priority on this guy's list because one, the person that's telling you that can get in contact with them can't get in contact with them. Two, you're not a priority because they're not even looking at you. And three, you better start looking for another school because that's not going to be the school you end up at.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee you, let's just say you take the last, I don't know, 3 recruiting years in the state of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and let's go New Hampshire. If you took a poll of those kids, right, that were in those recruiting classes, and you said, what was your number one school when you started your junior season? I would guarantee you, I bet you it's between 4 and 8% of those kids actually ended up at that school.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that because they might have found a better fit, or they might not even have known what a fit was.
Mm.
But it's just like, oh, I go online and I look at SNU, okay? The biggest online school in the country. But they go to the World Series, if not every year, or 1 to 2 years.
Essentially.
Right. So
Yep.
it's what, again, that might not align with what you're looking for because you might be the valedictorian of your class and that might not be what you're trying to look for. But if you're going to SNU, you know you're going to end up with good baseball and you're going to get a college degree, which there are people that don't have college degrees, which is okay. But at the end of the day, you're going to graduate with a college degree. You were on a baseball team for 4 years, and it's going to set you up for life after college.
Yeah. And I think kind of what you touched on there, like talking about the valedictorian, right? I've dealt with I'm not going to name names. One of the kids that I was working with, he wanted to go to MIT. And I asked him, like, do you know the percentage of people that get into MIT?
0.02.
And he was like, yeah, roughly probably like 4%. I'm like, okay, no, it's a lot less, right? You're competing with people all across the country. You're not just competing with one side of the state. And I asked him, I was like, hey, all power to you. I was like, I asked him his GPA, I asked him what he was taking, I asked him his SATs. He seemed like a great fit, right? I was like, what happens if you don't get in? And he goes, I really haven't thought of that, right? So like, you have this brainiac. I'm just going off of the smart school side of things, but if you have this brainiac, coaches don't have any help. It's truly, you got to get in all by yourself. So you got to have a backup plan of, if I don't get into the school due to numerous reasons, do I have another option to go to a school? Obviously it's MIT. So you might have to take a step down in education, but can I go play at this school or can I go play at that school? It's like, you got to find schools that I would say like synonyms, essentially. It's like you take SNU, for example, a really good baseball team, and it has a good degree, right? You got to try to level that out with, hey, if I lessen the baseball, but get a better academics, right? It's all about finding your balance. And we've touched on a ton about finding your fit. Your fit might change because you truly don't know what a good fit is until you're in it, right?
Till you know what a fit actually is for you.
Exactly. Unless someone explains it to you, you just think, oh, because the guys like me and I can get in academically, it's a good fit. You step on campus your freshman year and it might be awful. And then you're like, well, I thought it was a good fit, right? So I think there's so many things, so many variables that go into it. But you can't just be dead set on the point I was trying to make. You can't just be dead set on going to one school, because what happens if you do not get into that school? You better hope you don't have to scramble to go somewhere else.
All right, I got 3 more questions that we're going to touch on here. Are showcases actually helping players, or are most players misusing them?
So I think that's a double-edged sword. I think the answer is yes, right? I think they're great. People, I don't know, maybe a bad experience, but people get a lot of slack about showcases. I think they're great. You're in front of the coaching staff, all eyes on you, right? You go to Boston Open, you said, or an NEB Classic tournament, or go down to Diamond Nation. How many fields, how many teams, and how many coaches are there? 8. There's about 100 teams, and there's about 400 coaches, it feels like, right? They might have someone that they want to see, say, you're throwing on field 2, but another kid reached out and he's playing on field 6, right? How is he going to be able to see you, right? Schedules don't line up. But when you're,
I'm not cutting you off here, but like that goes back to like the whiteboard in the office, right? Where people don't understand, right? Let's just say the kid that's throwing on field 2, right? He's the
is
number
higher
1,
up.
right?
Yeah.
The guy throwing on field 6 is number 3. So who are they going to go watch? Because that
Obviously.
guy that if they're going to go watch that guy that's number 1, he's probably getting an offer that day. Where that guy on field 3 might be getting an offer, but he might be coming back. He might be going to look at Twitter to see how he threw.
Yeah. So for me, that's why I think camps are great because A, you're on campus. Every school, they should, if they aren't, they're giving you a campus tour. So you're going to be able to see the school. You get to meet all the coaches, and probably 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some players that are working it. So you can ask questions to the players that you may not want to ask the coach, right? That you may ask like, hey, what's it like? What's the school like? How's your opinion of it, right? Because obviously a coach's opinion of the school and the player's opinion of the school is a lot different. And then for you said players not using it correctly. Was that the question?
Players misusing it, yeah.
So for me, never a velo guy, never that. I was a gamer. I loved playing games, right? Don't go into a camp with the mindset, I have to run this or I have to hit this metrically, right? If you go up there and you have a bad round of BP, don't panic. You're going to play a game most likely. You go 3 for 4 with a bag and you make a dive and play, you're going to be on coach's board, right? And I think people go into that mindset of once they do you stretch, you meet the coaches, you play catch, and then you do your metrics. If you stink metrically, people try too hard to do something metrically and it might screw it up. Like ground balls you see in the perfect game, I forget his name, the Austin Schultz guy on Instagram, where he makes fun of the guys who crow hop 87 times. It's like, no, look good, field the ground ball, throw it to the chest.
But crow hop
9 times out of 10.
Crow hop 3 times if you're going to pull down 100.
Yes, correct.
Because that's who you are. But like correct. You just said there, right? Like it goes back to being on the board, right? But at the end of the day, if you go 3 for 4 with a bag in that game, you're going to get at least a conversation. If you're not going to be on the board, that might be when you find out, hey, we're not recruiting a second baseman. And then, hey, you can take that off your list, but at least you took the time and you don't know who that coach knows. So he might get off the phone and be like, hey, we really can't take a second baseman, but I'm going to call my best friend who's a coach at X school and say, you need to get this guy. He's not off the charts stats-wise or metrics-wise, but the dude can play.
So, short answer, misusing showcases is not being yourself. Be yourself at all times. So, if you're a guy who doesn't run well, don't get upset you ran poorly because a kid ran a 6.6, right? You can work on that in the off season and in the winter and stuff like that, but go to your strengths. If you mash baseballs, go up to your BP session, mash baseballs, in game, mash, right? If you're a defensive wizard, put on a clinic. Coaches recruit people just strictly off of defense. You're going to find a way in the lineup because, hey, if they're going to the World Series and you're playing on a really nice field and a ball mishops, but you keep it in front of you because you're a talented infielder, you're going to keep playing. Or if you're ranging balls down in center, or you can speak for it for catchers. How many times have you seen a catcher who's a Gold Glove catcher? It's 198, but he played 48 out of 50 games because he's a Gold Glove defender, right? Like, when you go to these showcases, don't try to be someone else. Rely on your strengths and then realize what your weaknesses are, because it allows for you to grow as a player and it allows for you to get better. So if you go back, say you're a sophomore and you go back in your junior year, they're going to have notes on you. And if they saw that you improved, they're going to be like, okay, this kid took it seriously. He improved on the things that he wasn't very good at, but also sharpened what he was really good at, right? So they're going to see that you took the time out of your life to improve, to see if you can get to where you want to be.
I think the quick answer for me there is like, it's a stepping stone, right? Like you can go there and put yourself on the radar and then they might follow you throughout the summer or they might come to a high school game. I think the misusing it part is, and it kind of dives into my next question, is how many events are too many? Because that's the next question, but I think that's where it's getting misused. Because then you'll look at a kid that posts on Twitter and it's like, let's just say he's a fringe D1 guy, could play D2, could play D3, and he's at Coastal Carolina, Duke, whatever, right? And your metrics aren't adding metrics, ability to play, academics, all those things aren't adding up. These guys are looking at like, why is this kid wasting all this money? And it's not at the end of the day the kid's money, it's the parents' money. So then you're paying a college tuition for a year or a semester going to these things. And that might be the best route for you. And if it is, best of luck to you, because you're going to be in debt by the time you're done doing that. But like, it goes back to pretty much what we've talked about in this entire podcast. I would say I'm a guy within probably 1 to 6 is the most I can see. 6 being the high end. 1 is like you go on campus, you end up falling in love with the school, and that's where you commit, right? Which is ideally what most people want to do. In today's world, that's probably not a realistic number. I went to 1 showcase, I'm pretty sure, growing up. Again, my metrics were a little bit different than most kids, so it was like I was a freshman. Back then, freshmen went to those things. But my metrics are better than most juniors and seniors. Now, does that mean anything? No, but that caught the attention of a coach's eye from metrics, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think 6 is kind of like, I mean, I don't know what the exact number is of official visits anymore, because I'd have to look at it because everything's changing. But I think like if you're going on official visits, like, I mean, I think that kind of aligns with how many showcases you should attend.
Yeah,
Now,
and I think
if we go
for
back
you,
to if we go back to what you said, not to cut you off, but if we go back to what you said, right? And it's like not closing any doors, or you're that guy that maybe might be too small. That might be your only way. So I don't think there's a real answer of how many there are, but like, don't go spending a fortune on showcases if people aren't interested in you.
so before I cut you off, I was going to touch on, so like for your AU team, you go to a lot of showcases yourself. I would say the number you're talking about is ones that aren't team related.
Correct.
You're going, getting invited,
Paying out of
player
pocket
type
on your
stuff.
own.
Yes, not that's already tied into what you're paying to play for AU.
I don't think there's too many of those.
I think for me personally, I think there is, right? Or you talked about team
camps, like
Yeah,
playing
team
games. I
camps are
don't think
great.
there's too many of those.
No, you can go to those all day long.
I think there's
But-
too many just one-on-one.
But usually what ends up happening is you have that coach reaches out saying, hey, our prospect camp is in 3 weeks. We'd love to see you again, right? If that's a school you really want to go to, and it comes back to the way what I was talking about with the list, right? They're not on your list. Probably you're not going to go, but say it's a pretty good school and the connection that you felt between the coach was strong, you should probably look into it and see what it likes. And if it fits your budget, absolutely. But if it's a school you have no interest in, you can't get into it. So take, God forbid, John Hopkins, right? If they ask me to come to a camp, I can't get in there, right? So I'm just wasting trip, flight money, hotel money, and to pay for the camp.
And
you're just
food,
wasting money, right?
and everything.
And food,
right?
everything else, right? Like for those kids that are listening, your parents are footing a lot of the bill. If you work and you do it, great, good for you. But most of the times your parents are paying for these things. Like you don't want to milk the parents dry, right? With all their money and all that time they're spending with you. Like think logically if the school works. If it doesn't, say, coach, I appreciate your invite to the thing. And this goes back to the connection building. Say, coach, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. I don't think at this time I can attend this camp. Doesn't mean that in a year from now it changes. You bring your academics up and you really want to go to that school and they have that major you want and they're a great baseball school and they have a great fit for you. You can go to their camp next year, right? If you do the right things, you will not get X-nayed off of someone's board just because you said no. And I think that goes back to the misuse of camps is kids, I think, get scared to say no because they think coaches will just say, nope, all right, Josh Tower crossed off the list. See ya. We're never going to recruit that kid because he didn't want to come to my camp. I can tell you that's not how that works. And if it does, you did not want to play for that coach in the first place.
I think the last question here is going to be what should players be doing before and after a showcase to maximize it? and I'll kind of touch before I let you speak on this one. I think you should make a list of 5 pros and 5 cons, right? 5 cons could be I struck out twice, I hated the campus, or the coaching staff wasn't for me, right? And then the 5 pros could be I really like the size of the school, or the coaching staff was great, like really hands on, something I'm looking for, and maybe I hit a home run or a double. Like, make the pros and cons after them. And it doesn't matter who you talk to, but talk to somebody involved in the game of baseball, whether travel coach, high school coach, maybe even a buddy of yours that's a player that's playing at a school or in college or pro ball or whatever. But like, get their take on it because they might know something that you don't know. Or, hey, that coach just got hired there and that guy's a great guy and he's trying to build something up from the ground up and take a bunch of high school kids. Or let's just say on the cons end, that guy hasn't had a good past and doesn't really develop kids and doesn't really put the time and effort to be involved with the kids' lives after college, right? Like you said it the other day when we were talking about it, you go to the Eastern alumni thing, like just cool to catch up with buddies. Like you play with these kids for 4 years, so why wouldn't you want to continue that friendship post college? Hey, and look forward to like, hey, I want to go to an alumni event. Or hey, I want to go to the golf tournament each year.
Yeah, and to go off that, I think like the before thing is it's just like a game, right? It's did I prepare properly? Did I do my research on the school, right? On the coach, like you said, the coach, the players, what they're looking for, the field, the campus, if I fit, anything like that. That's the type of stuff I'm doing. And I don't even think you touch anything on like your athletic ability to do stuff before camps. It's truly you do your vision on is this a fit for me? Or is the coach the one I want to play for 4 years? I want to sign essentially your rights away for 4 years to go play for that coach. Do you want to pay that much money out of pocket to go to that school? Or C, is that field that field you want to play on for 4 years? Just like you touched on with Eastern, like they got a brand new field. When I played there, that field was woof. But we had a stadium and it was the coolest thing ever, right? So I was okay with it, balance it out that the field wasn't great, but the stadium was cool because it was packed every time we played, right? Then you have talk about majors. Do they have your major? And I'll say this, if you are stuck on a major, like, hey, I want to be an engineer and that school doesn't have an engineering program, don't waste your time doing it because don't, I wouldn't say don't change, but don't change your vision just to fit something else. Because again, we go back to it, it might not be the right fit. So for that, the beforehand, I don't really think about anything about athletic ability. It's truly all the stuff about the information about the school. And then that backside of when the event's over, it's did I shake the coach's hand? Did I get enough time to talk to him? Did I get what I wanted out of it? Right. So maybe what you wanted out of it was you got a feel for what the coach is like, what the players are like, because you got to talk to the players, how they run things and what their ideologies are. It's, hey, we only hit home runs and try to punch out 100 times pitching, right? Or, hey, we pride ourselves on defense. We're a contact team and we are a sinker ball changeup team, right? You got, if you got if you sat down at the end of the event and you got all that information that you were looking for, the event was a success. And I think truly there's a lost art in shaking the coach's hand, introducing yourself and staring them in the face because of technology and all the stuff and everything, the way we've been brought up. But if at the end of the day, you do your post, it's just like a game. You do your post game research on, you can look back on videos because a lot of the schools, what they do is they set up a camera, they'll give you your data and then they'll record your at bats and they can give it to you for an extra charge or whatever. But if you got that information and you went and looked at it and you're like, okay, you picked the things that you did good and you picked the things that you did bad to build on, right? You don't want to go out of an event just going, oh, I was great. You went over 4 punch outs. How were you? Great, right? Or I didn't even talk to the head coach. I didn't ask a single question. I sat there, right? I sat at the corner of the bench and didn't meet anyone, right? Baseball is all about relationships and building for the future. And you brought up the alumni event. Like every single teammate that I played for, I love and I die for because I got to build relationships with them. I'm not saying you will do that at events, but if you could pick out, say, I'm playing for an AAU team A and you're playing for AAU team B, but we we become friends. You can track that over the summer, right? And see where they go and see how that goes. And you can build relationship. There's so many variables that you can get out of these camps. But if you don't do a post camp analysis, you're just wasting your time because you're not getting better or you're not building anything for the future.
All right, that's a wrap for episode 20. Thanks, P, for joining today, and hope everyone enjoys listening to today's pod.
Absolutely.